So Jake Paul and Anderson Silva are in a boxing match in October. And I usually try and avoid sort of Jake Paul's boxing matches as much as I can. But I feel now that he's fighting such an MMA legend that I can't ignore it anymore. So, Mark, my first question is, will you even watch the fight? Will you watch Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul?
Well, like the typical, I'm similar to a Star Wars fan nowadays going, it's a terrible film nowadays, but I'll still watch it. It's like I'll run it to the ground, and then when it actually does come out, I'll probably will tune in, to be honest.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Because I have no interest at all in watching Jake Paul fight. Any clips I've seen, it's been very boring, very dull. And when I watch combat sports, I want to see it at the highest level. That's what you want to see. And so I'm not overly interested. But now that Anderson Silva's fighting, he is such a high level fighter. And I am excited to see what he can do. But at the same time, I do worry about him because he's so old now, isn't he? He's the 50? Is he 50? Is Anderson 50?
Close to it. Yeah.
Something like that, isn't he? And do you think Anderson Silva can beat Jake Paul? Do you think he'll batter him? Or
he could, but I honestly think that this is one of them fights where we don't actually know what level they're both at, because Anderson, obviously, everyone knows how good he was in MMA, but the older he gets, he's been doing, fighting Tito Ortiz, fighting people that are around his similar age. And with Jake Paul as well, his opponents so far, it's always as if there's a handicap in place, sort of thing, that basketball player, the clue's in the name, Ben Askren, never known for his striking. He's a retired wrestler who just had hip surgery. Tyron Woodley, who lost 16 rounds in a row before this. And then Anderson Silva, with his age, that's a factor. So it's possible that Anderson can do it, but there is just that gloom in his age there, So you get what Jake Paul's doing. But what do you think? Do you think Anderson's got a chance with it?
Well, yes and no. Like, for me, Anderson Silva is one of the greatest fighters of all time, hands down. But he's just so old now. He really is. And he hasn't won a fight. He's won one fight, UFC fight, should I say, since he's lost to Weidman. Do you know what I mean? He's won one MMA fight. So it's just, he's on that big losing spell already. He's much older. I think if he is going to win, he has to be perfect. He can't make one mistake. He can't take a second to breathe. He can't adjust his footing. He has to be perfect for all 12 rounds. Because if he's not, he's got this young bloke who's just going to come swinging at him and connect and could drop him so easily. And that's what I worry about. And I do not want to see Anderson Silva fall from grace the same way Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley have. And I know a lot of people talk about like, Silva, we respect him so much. But if he gets dropped, it is going to be embarrassing for him. He's going to be memed forever. Do you think he'll lose respect for that? Or do you think people will be like, well, he's the greatest of all time, but he has been beaten up by a YouTuber?
I think it'll be that sort of built-in excuse there where the people who are really keen to watch this, if Jake wins decisively, it's that built-in excuse of, well, yeah, but he is old, sort of thing, in his heyday, he would have done. And then the hate will continue for Jake, and it'll just grow stronger because people are tuning in. There's some fans of his out there and that, but a lot of people, even Jake said this week, that people are tuning in because they want to see him lose. They want to see him get knocked out. So keep that hate train flowing. Keep it going. He beats a legend like Anderson Silva. Who's he going to call out next? Randy Couture. It's because he's going off the names, and yeah, you get what he's doing, but it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't really like it.
No, it doesn't sit with me either. I just feel like it's taken advantage of these really big names. And my biggest problem is, why are these guys doing it? Surely Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, and Anderson Silva made enough money in their careers to not get beaten up by a YouTuber. Like, why are they doing it? What for? Is money that important to them? Or have they just spent their money so poorly? That's what I wonder.
I really wouldn't know, honestly. Maybe they just want to be known as the guy to finish, to derail this train. Because like you say, like Tyron Woodley was a world champ. Ben Askren was a champion in, another division sort of thing. So you think, and obviously Anderson Silva, one of the greatest of all time. I honestly wouldn't mind at all if Anderson Silva would stick to, what he's been doing, where he's fighting Tito Ortiz and the likes, where a similar age, because it feels a little like we've made a video on this before, like walking football, where they've still got that competitive edge, but they can't really stay with the absolute top dogs. And now you've taken a fight with someone who's, sort of, you'd hate to say the word up and coming. But here we are, though, Dwayne. At the end of the day, we can say that we're not really happy about it. Here we are making content on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's what I was saying before, is like, I have tried to ignore Jake Paul as much as I possibly can because I'm just not interested in him. I've never watched any of his YouTube videos. I've seen glimpses of his fights. The only fight I saw of his was him versus Ben Askren. And I was waiting for ages watching Justin Bieber sing. And it was like a crappy concert. I was like, what is going on? I just want to see a fight. It is ridiculous. And now my hand's been forced. I'm like, right, okay, I have to pay attention because Anderson Silva is that huge name. And it's such a shame that Jake Paul is making a name off these kind of fighters. It's like, who's he going to call out next? I'm actually worried Chuck Liddell's on the list, because he'll do it. He'll come out. He'll get a couple of quid and get battered by Jake Paul. And you say, oh. And it's horrible to even think, isn't it? These legends are just going to get beat up by this kid. It's embarrassing.
I would love to hear Dana White's opinion on that. If Chuck Liddell comes out of retirement and has a go, I think Dana White would break down in tears, to be honest.
Well, Dana White's refused answering questions now, hasn't he? Anytime anyone asks him about Jake Paul, he just doesn't answer the question anymore. And I think that's the right decision for him.
Fair enough, honestly, because every press conference, you could come off like an absolute mad UFC, and where there's knockouts everywhere. I don't know, Leon Edwards, Shadow Realms, Kamaru Usman, and then people after like, did you hear Jake Paul's interview? This like, I don't care. Leave me alone. I'm not interested.
What a stupid line of questioning, right? You just said, that champion's been knocked out. Talk about that. But what I'm curious is, Mac, could anything get your respect of Jake Paul as a combat athlete, not as a content creator, as a person, but as a boxer?
Fight a boxer.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's just, it's that's when I'll go, all right, that fair enough. Yeah. Because when people go, yeah, but you look at I don't know, Conor McGregor's like his first few opponents, you can't name them and stuff like that. You're like, yeah, but you can name Jake's, and they're all old sort of has-beens. No, not has-beens. I don't want to say that.
Because they're not has-beens, are they? They're retired professional fighters. Do you know what I mean? That's what happens. They're still great, but they've moved on. They're not young and sprightly forever. It's not the way it works.
Well, it's like, I'm sort of veering off topic slightly here, but did you see Evander Holyfield versus Vitor Belfort in Thriller?
That was disgusting. I was genuinely so upset seeing that. I don't know how any commission put that together.
It was just crazy. Like Evander was 58, I think, and I think Vitor's 44 at the time. And like the commentary team, because it was like Masvidal and Trump and everyone like that, they were all even just saying like that wasn't Evander, because they was just like, what did we watch?
I know.
It was true though. It's like just a bit disgusting, but you'd hate for that to happen to
to Silva,
someone.
Yeah. and that's the thing, isn't it? In Belfort, he celebrated as though he just won, like it was the end of a Rocky film. I thought, you taking the piss? You're just beating up an old man. It's embarrassing. Yeah. And it worries me that that's the way combat sports is going. But maybe it's because they're struggling financially. Like, what's happened to these guys? Can they not afford this anymore? Is that why they're having to make these fights? And hopefully they can get help that they need, like maybe get an accountant. Maybe that might help. But I think we're sort of steering off topic a little bit here. And so I'm not really looking forward to seeing Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva, but I think I'll have to watch it.
Well, that's where they get you though, Dwayne. You don't want to watch it, but now you're going to have to watch it. Yeah, that's what's happened. You are hook, line, and sinker. You are drawn in.
Yeah, I really am. Well, I think that's all we've got time for. So thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, subscribe, it really does help us out.